Bitcoin has been declared dead 474 times. Newspapers buried it, economists mocked it, governments tried to ignore it, and every time they thought it was over, it came back stronger. There is something inside this network that nothing in the history of money has ever had before. No government created it, no bank controls it, and no one has the power to shut it down. So the real question is this: what problem does Bitcoin actually solve? And why do millions of people around the world call it the money of the future? If you think the answer is simple, stay with me until the end of this video. Before we talk about Bitcoin, we need to answer a very simple question. What is money? Money is a human invention, an unwritten agreement, a tool for transferring value. If I do some work for you, you give me something in return that can store that value, so I can later exchange it for value from someone else. Throughout history, people have used many things to represent value: salt, wheat, shells, and, of course, gold. But the most important truth about money is this: money only works when there is trust. Trust that what I'm holding today will still have value tomorrow, and the day after that. Trust that no one can steal it from my pocket or make it worthless overnight. Which means this: before anything else, money is a system of trust, and everything you'll see in the rest of this video is the story of how that system evolved, how that trust was broken again and again, until it finally pushed the world toward the birth of Bitcoin. For thousands of years, people trusted things to store value: gold, silver, rare metals. But trading with gold was difficult. It was heavy, hard to divide, and dangerous to carry. So a simple idea emerged. Give your gold to a bank, and the bank will give you a paper receipt. That receipt was easy to carry, easy to divide, and whenever you wanted, you could return it and get your gold back. That was paper money, not because of printing presses, but because of gold. But slowly, something in the system began to change. Governments and banks realized they could print more receipts without actually having the gold. On the surface, nothing looked different. Paper was still paper, but the backing was quietly disappearing. Until, in the 20th century, countries around the world declared, "We no longer need gold. Money has value because we say it does." This is called fiat money, money that has value by decree. But this shift created a serious problem. When money is no longer backed by anything, governments can print as much as they want. And every time new money enters the system, the money in your pocket loses a little more of its value. From Argentina to Turkey, from Venezuela to Lebanon, history shows the same pattern. When trust in fiat collapses, the value of money collapses with it. This was the moment the world realized something crucial. Money was no longer something we trusted. It was someone, the government. And that shift planted the seed for the rise of Bitcoin. When we entered the 21st century, money became almost completely digital. Bank cards, wire transfers, PayPal. We touched physical cash less and less. But this raises a critical question. If money is just a file, what stops us from copying it? You can copy a photo 1,000 times. You can send a song to millions of people. So if money is also a file, what prevents us from creating money out of nothing? This is known as the double spend problem, the problem of spending the same digital money twice. For decades, no one was able to solve this problem without a central authority. Banks said, "The solution is simple. All transactions must go through us. We keep a ledger, and we decide who owns how much." That system worked, but at a very high cost, total concentration of power. Banks could see everything, record everything, and decide which transactions were allowed and which were not. Which means this: to use digital money, we had to trust a central institution that sees, controls, and decides everything. And this is where Bitcoin's big question was born. Is it possible to have digital money without anyone controlling it? Without banks? Without governments? without it being copied or manipulated? Until 2008, the answer was no. But then, something happened that changed everything. In 2008, the world was falling apart. Banks that were supposed to protect people's money had taken reckless risks and pushed the global economy to the edge of collapse. Governments began printing money, and trust, the very foundation money is built on, started to crack. In that darkness, on a small internet forum, an anonymous person using the name Satoshi Nakamoto published a 9-page document. Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. No photo, no real name, no company, nothing. Just one idea, money that doesn't rely on trust in people, but on trust in mathematics. Satoshi said we could create digital money that cannot be copied, cannot be confiscated, cannot be censored, and does not require a bank. Money that runs itself, a system no one owns, yet anyone can join. In that moment, Bitcoin wasn't just a technology, it was a declaration of independence from the old financial system. And now, it's time to understand how this system actually works. To understand Bitcoin, there is one sentence you need to grasp. Bitcoin is a global ledger with no owner. In the traditional banking system, the ledger belongs to a single institution, the bank. They decide who owns how much money, and no one is allowed to see the ledger itself. Bitcoin works the opposite way. The entire ledger is visible to everyone and stored on thousands of computers all around the world. This is what we call the blockchain. Every transaction is recorded inside a block, and these blocks are linked together, forming a history that cannot be changed. If someone wanted to hack the system, they would have to alter thousands of copies of this ledger at the same time. In practice, that's impossible. Let's look at an example. Bitcoin's ledger shows that in 2010, a user sent 10,000 Bitcoins to another address to buy 2 pizzas. That transaction is still there today. Permanent, transparent, verifiable. But here's the key detail. You can see the numbers, but you can't see who is behind them, which means Bitcoin is not fully anonymous and not fully transparent. It is pseudonymous. Everything is traceable, but people's identities are protected. And this is where Bitcoin's real power comes from. Not from a government, not from a corporation, but from thousands of individuals who each maintain a copy of this ledger. Money, without a center, a system, without a ruler. That is a revolution. Up to this point, we've seen how Bitcoin works. But the more important question is this: why do we need it? The answer lies in 5 simple truths, things the current financial system can never truly offer. 1. True ownership of money. In a bank, your money isn't really yours. It can be frozen. Withdrawals can be limited. Its value can be cut in half overnight. But with Bitcoin, as long as you control your private key, no one on earth can take your money. Not a government, not a bank, not any authority. This is individual sovereignty. 2. Fixed supply, digital gold. In the fiat world, money is printed by humans, and every time new money enters the system, the money you already have loses value. Bitcoin is the exact opposite. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, not one more. Scarcity creates value. 3. Resistance to censorship. No one can tell the Bitcoin network, reject this transaction, freeze this address. This person is not allowed to move money. In Bitcoin, the rules are the same for everyone, no exceptions. Money is governed by mathematics, not by human will. 4. Transparency without control. You can see every transaction, but you can't see who is behind it. This strange combination, transparency plus privacy, didn't exist before Bitcoin. It means accountability without centralized surveillance. 5. Access for 2.5 billion unbanked people. Around the world, billions of people have no bank account, no financial identity, no real opportunity to grow. Today, with a simple smartphone and a weak internet connection, They can enter the global economy, no permission required. Bitcoin is not just money. It is a gateway. The truth is this: Bitcoin matters because for the first time in history, money has been taken out of the hands of institutions and returned to the people. This is the real meaning of revolution. Before the internet, information was controlled by a handful of major media outlets. They decided what could be seen and what could not. Then the internet changed everything. Information was set free. Power was pulled away from the center. And for the first time, people could speak to the world without permission. Bitcoin is the same kind of transformation, but for money that knows no borders, that cannot be censored, that relies on mathematical rules, not on trust in people. In a world where governments print, banks control, and crises repeat themselves, Bitcoin is not a choice. It is a necessity. This is the beginning of the Internet of Money, and we are still in its very first chapter. If you've stayed with me until now, you don't just know what Bitcoin is, you understand why it exists. This video was the first step. From here, we go deeper. Blockchain, security, mining, the economics behind Bitcoin, and why governments truly fear it. If you want to continue this journey, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Welcome to Voice of BTC, where money, power, and the future are rewritten from the ground up. I'll see you in the next episode.